Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Meanahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called DiverCity and is from Sphere Games. Now if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page, which you will find by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Those links will take you to the page and hopefully you'll consider backing the project. Now, DiverCity is a cooperative game. You and the other players are conservationists, particularly scuba divers and people who are accustomed to archipelagos and islands, and you are trying to save the native species of this archipelago, and more importantly, just save the entire set of islands from evil developers, people trying to put up hotels and oil platforms, and just generally destroying the reef with their boats and things like that. So you need to do your best in order to save these species and keep them from going extinct. That is the main way that you're going to win the game, is by saving enough species depending on the difficulty level. But there's also lots of ways you can lose the game. If the reef dies, if too many hotels get put up, so on and so forth. Let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game works with a prototype copy of the game. So what you see here may change in the final version of the game. Then we're going to come back and we'll discuss it further. DiverCity is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. You work together to save an archipelago and turn it into a park in order to save a bunch of animal species from going extinct. You can set the difficulty level ahead of time. If you can save enough species before a certain number of other species go extinct, you will win together. But if too many species go extinct, or if you run out of dead coral tiles to add to the board, or if 6 hotel resorts are built on the islands, the game will end in defeat. Lay out the game board. Along the side is a track of all the different species that are in danger. Put their tokens in the center blue safe space. Each player gets a different character, each of which have their own special ability, which might be extra actions, the ability to shut down hotels easier, extra air capacity, so on and so forth. You'll get a corresponding miniature with a special base, which will go in the middle of the map when the game begins. Your base will have an indicator that can be flipped to either blue or yellow. Blue means your character is underwater, yellow means you are not. You'll also get an oxygen tank marker, which starts at the maximum light number space. A stack of tiles, coral side up and species side down, are placed near the board with 4 face up next to it to make the bank, which you'll be drawing from. Each player also gets 3 tiles that go on a rack in front of them, with the coral facing them so they cannot see the species side, and only the other players can. The special cards are shuffled and 4 are placed face up. The industrial cards are just shuffled for now, and other tokens and pieces, the dead coral tiles, the boat, the oil platforms, hotels, and so on, are also just placed off to the side. Before starting, you must roll the directional die and refer to the icons on the board. This will tell you which direction the boat will move through. It goes for 3 spaces and stops. All 3 coral that it goes over die, and you will cover them up with the dead coral tiles. Then you will flip over an industrial card and apply its effects immediately. All cards have major threats, which could be boats again, which will move and also make you flip the tiles in the back to the species side, 1 for each space. Whichever species is revealed, you will move their token towards extinction on the track. It might also be placing hotels or oil platforms. Some cards also have minor threats for the players, like damaged fins, damaged suits, and damaged walkie-talkies. Oil platforms, another major threat, always build adjacent to an island and will kill the coral tile it rests on, as well as pushing the species on the tile towards extinction. Minor threats are malfunctions, like I mentioned before. One of them damages your suit, preventing the use of your special power. One of them damages your fins, taking away an action point, and so on. With exceptions, each character has 4 action points to spend on their turn. You have multiple options, and you can do the same action multiple times if you want. First is moving. If you're above water, you can move back and forth between islands and reefs that you're adjacent to. If you're underwater, you can spend 1 oxygen unit to move to another coral tile and discover a tile on your rack and place it on the board for free. For the species underneath, move it back 1 step towards saving. If you run out of oxygen, you must surface, but you can't die in the game, so don't worry about that. Another action you can do is shutting down a hotel. Since hotels don't have the right to build on islands, you can shut them down if you're on the same island tile. If you're on an island without a hotel, you can refill your oxygen tank and repair any equipment that is malfunctioning. Another action is communicating information to an ally about the tiles on their rack. 1 action point will let you tell all 3 species to that player. You can use an action to discard 1 to 3 tiles and replace them from the bank. You'll replenish the special card bank and the tile bank and allow the next player to take their actions. Lastly are the special cards, which have a dramatic set of effects. To get one, you must be a good explorer by exploring a reef that has at least one color in common with a neighboring tile. Then you can take one of the face-up cards. There are many, many effects like helicopter lifts, moving the species indicators, and so on. After you've done all your actions, the next player gets to go. Keep going until either you've saved enough species completely or unfortunately met one of the other fail conditions. That is DiverCity. Well, of course, DiverCity, I think, is most notable aspect is its theme. Not just that it is, cooperative, working together against, evil forces, but in this case, it is modern-day conservationists, which you don't see that theme a lot, especially not in competitive games, but not even in cooperative games. But it makes total sense that you would be working together cooperatively. And the way that they go about that, where you're on an archipelago and there are, you've got to worry about your oxygen tank, you can go underwater, you have special abilities having to do with conservation. Like one character is very good at shutting down the hotels. One character is just very good at staying underwater for a long time. It's really interesting how you have all these different aspects of the characters going on. Tons and tons of special cards that can help you out as well. And there's just lots of threats that you have to worry about that are very thematic. Boats ripping through the reef that you have to try and stop, and you have to try and explore the reef to find these different species. Like, I found more of this species, now we can protect them and get them breeding, or whatever the case might be thematically. But as boats rip through the reef, as oil platforms come out and destroy the reef as well, you're going to start losing species or having them go further and further towards extinction. So you have this constant threat and this constant tension to keep saving as many as you can and keep them in the blue and the green, so to speak. Well, that's mechanically speaking how you do it on the track there. And then it's just, there's lots of different things going on in the game, especially with the hotels. That's another aspect of the game. So there's lots of ways to lose the game, and you need to focus on all of those while at the same time moving forward and saving the species. And the game just flows very simply. It's not a very difficult game to understand and wrap your head around, but there's so many different things that you can do, so many things you can spend your action points on from turn to turn, and of course working together and making sure you're communicating the different tiles on your racks as well. That's another very important aspect of the game. So all these things together make a very, very interesting cooperative game, and not really like any other ones I've seen out there on the market. So if any of these things interest you, especially the theme or the type of gameplay, you should definitely go to the Kickstarter page and find out more information than I could possibly tell you here. It's going on right now. You can follow the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. That is DiverCity from Sphere Games. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting our sponsors. Take care. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.